Hi everyone, I'm Eva Kraus. I'm staff editor with Worth. I'm so excited to be here. This is such an amazing event and I'm really excited to be here with JJ and D today. So this is a little bit of a different panel. We're going to be talking about less the nuts and bolts, but something that all of us feel, but it can be hard to identify at times. There are plenty of obvious obstacles to women's success, but there are also a lot of invisible ones. Whether we call it unconscious bias, ingrained gender norms, or something else, learning to recognize what those are and how to overcome them is a really integral part of the fight for gender equity. That's why we're bringing one of the most prevalent obstacles to your attention today, which is the overwhelming absence of an institutionalized women's business culture. I think this is something that a lot of the women in this room can relate to. It can present itself as imposter syndrome, the compulsion to soften your tone over email, or just feeling a little bit awkward or self-conscious when discussing your goals with your friends. So that's why we've brought JJ and D here today to talk about the need for an institutionalized women's business culture and to share their expertise on how to encourage women to talk to each other and overcome some of these sometimes invisible obstacles. So thank you so much for joining me here today, you guys.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm gonna open this up by addressing both of you. You can both take a turn answering. How do you feel that ingrained cultural attitudes and behaviors create barriers for women, impacting their ability to succeed?
So I would say for me, it started at a young age. So I'm from Ghana and also was raised in the UK. And so those are like two cultures that value humility, self-deprecation. I had parents, immigrant parents who raised me to be very sort of respectful and to work very hard and to get a good education, and I would be successful. So, I really sort of entered the workforce with these sort of, ultimately sort of false ideas of like what it took to succeed. So I just had to be like nice, respectful, humble, work very hard, and I was going to be CEO. And it didn't happen. And so, what I realized was that, you had to learn how to advocate for yourself, you had to learn how to speak up, you had to ensure that your work was noticed, you had to ensure that you were in the right rooms, that people were advocating for you. Like there was just so much of an education, and it was really less about how hard I worked, and much more about like how I could be visible. And so that's really, I think, where we are sort of already on the back foot before we've even gotten started.
I have a company called the Justice Department. I worked for Jay-Z for 17 years, helping him build his company as EVP of strategy, business development, and also as an attorney. And I started the company because I was also doing a lot of female executive contracts. And what I was noticing is not only were men getting offered much larger jobs, much higher pay with lower titles, that the women were not advocating for themselves to get more. And I came from a single teenage welfare mother, so I didn't have any mentors. I just thought that women were not getting ahead in business because we didn't want to. I didn't realize that there was this glass ceiling, but we've known about this glass ceiling now for so long, and we've known about these unconscious bias things, everything to like the temperature of this room, which we keep talking about. I'm not freezing for once in my life, okay? In fact, I could actually take this off. It's crazy. That's an unconscious bias. Asking people to go, walk six blocks to, a work event, a social event, and you're wearing 4-inch heels. Like, no, I don't walk 6 blocks. I walk to the car in these heels. Those kind of things that it's like, now we've had enough time, I think, to educate ourselves as companies. So from on my point of view from the company, and this is really because I've done now thousands and thousands of women's executive contracts and negotiating for C-suite women, it's like, that saying, what the definition of crazy, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the same result. From a company's point of view, do not expect women all of a sudden to get ahead if you are not addressing the needs of women and how we are different and what we need. So that is the biggest ingrained thing, is not addressing it. It's like I said, I do a lot of negotiating for women in executive contracts. In every executive contract, if you're getting one, there's a provision that says, you've taken this to an attorney of your choice and had them look at this. Like, why aren't you telling women that when you give them that? Like, these are the things that I give feedback to companies to be like, this is your problem, okay? We're not gonna be a victim of circumstances. We're gonna be a product of our choices, and so are you as a company. So make the right choice to be inclusive to women and understand our needs, because we've all been saying everything, so now address it.
Woo! Yeah, JJ.
Sorry, I'm too long.
So JJ is actually one of our groundbreaking women for precisely the reason she just mentioned, which is she is deeply ingrained in this space advocating for women. And so I wanted to ask you, how are you encouraging women to speak up for themselves? What are some tools that you offer them to really take some of that power and be what they can?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, if you can afford to hire somebody to do it, then do it, because everybody, I mean, we even heard how Beyonce has to be Sasha Fierce to get on stage, okay? Like, if she's doing it, we all need it. And I heard earlier people talking about confidence gaps, like Karen and stuff. So we all have those things, which is fine. Now, if you can't do those things, right, and you want to negotiate for yourself or feel like, well, you were asking what I am doing for them. I'm helping them understand that we need to talk to each other. We need to, for some reason, there's this like thing where we've been told like talking about money is really icky, but it's okay for men to do it. Why is that? Like, we need to talk to each other. We also are told all the time that you're not supposed to talk to each other about salary, which is completely illegal. National Labor Board, like it's finally coming out. You are allowed to. That's how unions started. I'm not saying unionize, but you should talk to each other. Men talk to each other all the time. They brag about how much money they're making. If they don't say it, they do it in their watches. It's like, it's true, and it's great. We should. I started the Justice Department, to help make women rich and lift women up, not to put men down. I take a lot of the stuff I learned from men, which we need to do, like give each other a business, talk to each other about our income, our salaries, etc. One of the, I'm teaching a course called Be the Boss of Your Career for younger women to start doing this. I had to interview a bunch of young women who are right out of college, all like amazing colleges, all amazing professional women. They were in the same friend group. They all were dissatisfied with what they were making, and none of them negotiated. And I said, did you guys talk to each other about it? There was 8 of them. They didn't, not one of them talked to each other about it. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, we have to hold each other up, advocate for each other, talk to each other, share information. And that's, one of the biggest ways I'm trying to help.
I think that's absolutely incredible. In fact, it can be really intimidating to even speak to your friends about this, let alone people you don't know. And that brings me to my next question for you, Dee, which is, how would you encourage women to engage in more transactional relationships with each other? And why do you think that that's something that women tend to shy away from?
I mean, transactional is my favorite word. And I just think that for some reason, like, there are words that, JJ referred to, like the, sort of aspects of our relationships that we find icky. So there are words like transactional or like networking that we find like uncomfortable. And I don't really understand that, because like these are action words that like get you to the next step or to the next level. Friendships are great. It's wonderful to be sort of supportive and have camaraderie, but like, where is the action piece? I think about the sort of like, in this room, and we're in a room full of women who are successful, who have great jobs. Like, you could probably solve every like workplace issue you have just amongst each other if you were, do you know what I mean? And I think that, it's really serious. And so what we're not doing is we are not engaging in business relationships with our friends. And so, and so what we're doing is like, we're leaving potential solutions off the table because we are not sort of having transactional relationships. So what I have done, which has really been organic to me, is like that's the nature of my relationships. Like, I do business with my friends. I talk to them I ask for introductions. I ask for referrals. Like, and they can say no. Like, I think that we've all figured out now sort of nice ways to say no, or nice ways to, if you don't have the space or time, or if it's a difficult thing for you to have to do, that's fine. But I think that if you are not making the ask, then you are doing yourself a disservice. And so that's really why I had to create an entire business to help women do that. And so that's, something that we encourage in the WeSuite. And every new member I interview, I talk about the fact that this is a transactional community, and we do business with each other, and we send each other business. And so if you are on board with that, great. But otherwise, like, this is not the place for you. I don't really care like how many C's you have in front of your title. For me, it's like, what are you going to bring to the table, and are you going to be active? And I'll just end with like a great anecdote of one of our members who works for a big conglomerate, and she said that being in the WeSuite, and this sort of and being a part of this sort of back and forth, I need a thing, I have a thing, had completely changed the way that she navigates her life and her work. So she's now so much more comfortable asking for things, but also giving things. So she's not sort of protective of, what she's sort of managed to acquire for herself, because she sees like the value and the bigger picture of why it's important for us to both give and receive and to ask.
And I'm sure seeing the results of that are really encouraging as well. And similar to Karen's story with the founder of Genev, like, you can really make an impact on people and watch it grow into something amazing that ultimately changes the world. And that's the goal here. So you both are very vocal advocates in your own worlds. And I was wondering if you have any advice for our audience on how to use their social platform and their connections to support other women and advocate for them.
I mean, what's so great about there's many downsides to social media, but one of the great things is it's a great democratizer, right? And I spend most of my social media time, because I am Gen X, not Gen Z, so the selfie is not still something that's very comfortable for me, and so is literally just reposting everybody's things, and then on LinkedIn and just constantly reposting and adding more eyeballs to people's missions, visions, their wins, you know what I mean, who you should hire, anything people are doing, because when you put yourself out there, like in which is such an amazing transactional organization, it's like, people come on there and say, look, my book is coming out. It's like, great, let's all do this. It's like, we can use our platforms. We all have different eyeballs. You can have 1,000 followers, you can have 100 followers, but those 100 followers might not be my 1,000 followers. So, using those platforms to pick, to promote other people whenever they're doing it. It's so easy just to add something to a story when you see it on, like, it's the easiest thing, or just to repost on LinkedIn. But also, issues that arise when you see those kinds of posts too. And then when you're reposting them, maybe it's showing, some other people in their lives who have the ability to make these changes, that these things are important, because then you're opening their eyes to these things.
And what do you think the impact is in terms of building a professional network of engaging with people in this really low resistance way?
Well, you are the boss of that.
I mean, I just wanted to go back to the social media part, 'cause I think it's really important. We have to tell our stories. Like, that's the most important, that's the most valuable aspect of social media, is sharing with everyone what you are navigating. Because there's like, I think about the Me Too movement. Like, I used to work in the movie business, and sexual harassment was rampant. I saw it every day. Like, everybody knew about, HW. I want to give him a platform. But nobody talked about it. And it wasn't until, Tawana Burke and until sort of people started sort of being more vocal about what they were experiencing on a daily basis, that we were able to go some way towards addressing sexual harassment. And so, like, you don't know what you don't know. So you have to be vocal about both your successes, but also, the peaks and valleys, right? I think it's, incredibly important to talk about, a salary negotiation and how it went. Like, what did you learn from the way you did things differently in that specific situation? Or talk about, how you approached pivoting a business or raising money, or like, just, I think just group thinking and sharing all of the processes by which we achieve success is so important, because there isn't really like one way for women to succeed. It's so nuanced, right? you know, for men, I think they could probably like read a book and it'll say like, go into the room and ask for a pay rise and you'll get it. It doesn't work that way for us. And the only way we learn that is by really sort of group thinking and like crowdsourcing solutions to how we achieve success.
And building a women's business culture.
And building a women's business culture. I forgot the question. Yeah, what was the answer?
That's okay, we're running out of time, and I want to turn our attention to the future and what you guys envision for what a women's business culture looks like in the years ahead. You know, if people are able to really come together and adequately lift each other up and break down some of these invisible barriers that we all feel on a day-to-day basis, what do you think that looks like?
Well, it looks like where women have the social, financial, and political capital equal to men, which is also the definition of feminism, by the way. That's it. That's it. That's all it means, is that we're equal, right? And women, as people have mentioned, control 80% of the purchasing power. And because we're at, Worth magazine, I would love for somebody to do this research, but I've researched it enough that if women make equal pay to men, that puts $450 billion into the economy, because we like to spend a lot of money. And I've researched it a lot, but please, if you want to prove me wrong, there's only one way. Women can be equal to men, and that's it. So I love that, because if we have that, then all the other things can fall into place, because we'll have the equal power. So, making those choices, here, the reason why I started the online course for younger women is because men negotiate 4 times more than women, their compensation. That's insane, 4 times more, which obviously they're gonna get more money. We have to take responsibility for ourselves too. If we're not doing it, we can't just complain about it. We have to go out there. How they respond to us, that's on them. If we're bossy instead of assertive, if they're ambitious and we're, whiny, or we're emotional and they're passionate, those things have got to go to the wayside, and understanding those, emotions and those double standards have got to leave corporate reality in general or vernacular. But those are the things that I look for and work for every single day.
I mean, I would say for me, it's all about leadership. I just want to see more women, more people of color in positions of power, because we're all bringing our respective journeys and stories and sort of insights and issues to the table to create a better and more inclusive work culture. And so, if you are a 50-year-old dude from Connecticut, your story is just so different from mine. And so, how can you really sort of hope to understand where I've come from, what I've gone through, what I've navigated. And so, that's why I do what I do. It's my focus is how do we level the playing field? How do we ensure that we have women at the top? And I honestly believe that would just take care of everything. Because we would sort of address our own lived experiences to make things better for all.
Thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I just want to ask you guys, what do you have coming down the pipeline? What are you working on that you're excited about right now?
I always have 50 million things I'm doing.
Of course.
Yeah, it's actually, it's a blessing and a curse. But so for right now, we are launching in Europe. So we're launching our membership community. I think it's incredibly important. We live in a global economy. It's incredibly important to have relationships and access and understanding of how the world works. I think so many of our issues stem from the fact that we don't understand other cultures. We're not sort of comfortable. We live in these sort of silos and think we are the best. I think it's really important to understand the world and to have access and relationships around the world. So global expansion, world domination.
So cool. Thank you so much, Dee.
Same. Dee and I've known each other a long time. We have the same goals. Our delivery is a little different, but that's how we get along. I have a podcast, Taking Care of a Lady Business, and I'm 110 episodes in, and some of you here, I have been on it and in it, and it's great. I interview amazing women in their journeys, which is tactical advice to, it's shows you can either be a part of what they're doing, how they got there, mistakes they've made, I ask everyone the same question at the end, and what's the worst advice you've ever received? And the one common theme is always not trusting your gut and ambition. Doesn't matter who gave it to you. And then, as I mentioned, I'm launching this course, Be the Boss of Your Career, for women like, just graduating college to like 5-6 years out, to show them what a compensation package really means and how to get it. They should at least, there's so many C-suite women who have come to me and they're like, I found you 10 years ago. Well, here I am. And so it just helps you understand why it's so important for us to negotiate what exactly is involved in a compensation package, and then tricks to get it. You're not going to get everything that you need, but if you've never asked for it or you don't know about it, then how are you going to get it? So those are things, and world domination.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.